Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Valverde, and I'm a deputy editor at PolitiFact. For the first time, thanks to support from people like you, United Facts of America is free to all guests. Welcome, everyone. Empower democracy by backing PolitiFact, the nation's largest political fact-checking organization. Your donation fuels our mission to hold politicians accountable for their statements. We investigate claims, ensuring accuracy and transparency in political discourse. Join us in the pursuit of truth. Your contribution, big or small, matters. Visit politifact.com/donate to make a difference. Now, I'm happy to be speaking with PolitiFact reporters Maria Briceño and Marta Campabadal, who report and write fact checks in Spanish for PolitiFact's latest initiative, PolitiFact en español. If you're wondering, why did PolitiFact start writing in Spanish? Well, we believe that people need and deserve access to fact-based information, regardless of the language that they speak. There are also millions of people in the United States who mainly consume information in Spanish and who are exposed to harmful misinformation on a daily basis. We've been fact-checking in English since 2007, so carrying over what we've learned over the years to Spanish fact-checking was just a natural next step for us. We're ready and we're happy to talk more about that. So let's just get to the specifics right away. Let's start with you, Marta. Can you tell us more about the type of misinformation that you most commonly fact check? And can you share an example of what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So, misinformation is really diverse. It comes in all, topics, all shapes and forms, also from politicians, from social media. And so we find really a lot of different topics. Some of the ones we see most are related, for example, to scams, debt relief, cheap energy, solar panels, healthcare benefits that, are not really happening and they are advertised. We also see a lot of immigration, and in Spanish specifically, there's a lot of immigration-related scams as well, and then news-related. So, for example, when there's something going on that is big in news, like, now the Israel and Hamas conflict, also when we saw the Hawaii wildfires, there was a lot of misinformation around that. But yeah, I think one that really comes to mind when thinking about, what do we see is a debt relief post that we've fact-checked many different, we've seen in many different forms and appearing in many different moments. It's this post that claims that you can eliminate debt through a new program by the government, and it's fake, it's not true. They use this familiar person, which is a newscast, person, which is Julio Vaqueiro from Telemundo. They extract a thing he said, and that thing was true, but then they just add fake images, fake text, fake voiceover, and they claim that, people trust it because if you don't look close, you think it's part of a newscast. So I think that one we've seen a lot with the government shutdown, for example, then when the debt ceiling conversation was going on. And that's a really good example because they claim something that for people is stressful, which is debt, and they just use that. And then a couple more examples that I think are representative as well is one fact check that we did on a new green card program to get a green card easy. We all know that getting a green card is not easy. So yeah, that was something else that we saw a lot. Or like get cheap solar panels when like there's nothing, no new program that could give us that,
And Maria, why do you think that disinformers target Latinos, Hispanics with this type of posts?
Yeah, following on what Marta said, there are certain vulnerabilities that our people have, and these bad actors, these informers take advantage of. Some of the things that we have seen are definitely language barrier. So if they don't speak English, then they see this post in Spanish and they want to believe it because it's understandable to them. And we also have seen that Hispanics are more vulnerable to people that look like them. So if they look somebody that is also Hispanic, that is also speaking Spanish, then they're like, wow, this is our people, they want to help us. And so they're trying to portray this information to me. So it must be true. Something that we have seen also is that the US system is different from other countries, you know. So if you have somebody who has another country of origin and where the government wasn't something that, you know, it didn't work, or they didn't trust their politicians and stuff, then we might see this information and they will put this out there and be like, oh, this is such a great news. Your life will change if you do this, buy this product. But, you know, it's not true. They are just taking advantage of them because in their countries, they might not trust their government. So then here it's like, oh, the government doesn't want you to know, so then it must be true. That's one of the main things that we have seen. So yeah, they take advantage of this lack of trust in the government, like for example, with the solar panels or the debt relief. They're like, the government wants to provide you, give you this money. And unfortunately, that's not true.
And how do you go about with this? Can you tell us more about the solar panels example? What was that post about, and how did you go about fact checking that one?
Yeah, so one of the things that they did, they were like, oh, the government wants to give you for free the solar panels. And it's just like, this is a right that you get. And in reality, that's not true. So one of the main things we did is we reached out to the government, you know, and we were like, hey, is this true? Have you guys approved any program like this? And they were like, no, we have never done this. They take advantage of these people. They tell them that it's the government, but in reality, it's a program where you lease solar panels. And then at the end, you end up with so much debt because you have to do these monthly payments that people will never find out until they actually sign it.
And you were saying, Maria, too, that some of those videos sound convincing. They feature people who may, you know, look like the person who's watching the videos. So it seems relatable, like, you know, someone familiar to them who's saying this, and therefore it must be true.
Yeah. Following on what Marta said, you know, they use images, like, for example, from Julio Vaqueiro from Telemundo. You know, he's a news anchor, he's respectable, so they take images like that and they use artificial intelligence, or they edit them and make it seem as, you know, if they are saying this or if they are really selling this product, when in reality they have never done that.
And Maria, one thing that not everyone may know is that there aren't many organizations fact checking in Spanish. You know, that's why one of the reasons too that PolitiFact saw, you know, an opportunity to take on this responsibility and fact check as we've done over the years. But fact checking as an exclusive form of journalism may be new to many people. So what opportunities do you think are there for PolitiFact as we expand and grow fact checking in Spanish?
Yeah, so, you know, as you said, fact checking is not new and it has been growing internationally. You know, we have seen fact checking organizations open in Mexico, Argentina, you know, Spain, and it has been amazing. But there are not many fact checkers in Spanish here in the US. And honestly, just the average Spanish speaker here in the US doesn't even know what fact checking is. So that's what we're really trying to tackle. You know, we're trying to make sure that all these posts that go unchecked, you know, that we have the opportunity to fact check and explain people what's going on. But the beauty of PolitiFact is that we are more than just, you know, fact checking posts. We also concentrate on policy issues, you know. We also fact check politicians. So all of these things that, you know, a newcomer or somebody really has no idea about, you know, that's what we're really looking into, and we try to explain. And the good thing about PolitiFact in Español is that we are just starting out. So we are really there to listen to people, learn more about what is something that they want us to look into, you know, what is something they want us to fact check. We're growing in this together, you know, we're having that conversation with them and see what they need.
Great. And if you're just joining us, welcome. My name is Miriam Valverde, and I'm a deputy editor at PolitiFact. With me are PolitiFact fact checkers Marta Campabadal and Maria Briceño. And if you're watching us right now on PolitiFact or pointer.org, you can open the video on YouTube and send us your questions in the chat. Now, Marta, going back to you, you know, we're getting ready for 2024. The election is coming up. It's, you know, just a few months away from the first, you know, primaries, but there will be many more ads coming on in Spanish on TV, on social media, radio, as campaigns try to win Hispanic voters, people who identify as Hispanic or Latino. Can you tell us more? Can you share more about how PolitiFact is preparing for that?
Yeah, so I think, as you know, Maria was saying, first of all, we're trying to build an audience and let people know not only that we're here as PolitiFact, because a lot of people know PolitiFact, but that we're here as PolitiFact en español, so that we're doing Spanish coverage and just not only, writing stories, but also letting them know about our process, about why do we do what we do. So doing, this type of, conversations with our audience. And so we want this audience that is new to us, because, before, Spanish speakers maybe were reading as if they were bilingual, but people that only consume or that mostly consume Spanish media maybe didn't know about PolitiFact. And so we're trying to grow that in many different ways. One, for example, is we created a WhatsApp tip line where people can share with us and send us things that they see on their own, conversations on WhatsApp or on the internet, on social media, even if they see that a political representative said something that was like, stuck to them, or if that made them think that maybe we could know more. And so this is really important to us, because we receive these messages and then we fact check it and then we share with these people what we found. And I think that's a, really interesting way to create this confidence and this conversation. Also, we're gonna create a WhatsApp channel where we can share our findings and share our stories in a, for a wider audience. And then the Spanish website that we will launch soon, because right now our content is within our English website. And honestly, I think that's a good start because, people just go into our English website and suddenly realize we're also writing in Spanish. But I think, we deserve to have our own website where like people can just straight go to that website and read our work in Spanish. And yeah, so our goal is to have a dedicated website in Spanish. And then another thing to remind ourselves is that, yeah, our Spanish team is small, but we're part of a bigger team. And I think that's a huge advantage because, we're part of a bigger team of experts, of journalists who are experts and who have been covering, as you were saying, since 2007, but a lot of them even earlier, immigration, healthcare, all sorts of topics. So a lot of times we also work in collaboration with them. And a lot of times if it's like, something related to migration that was said in English, but, implies Spanish speakers, then maybe one of us collaborates with a PolitiFact in English reporter. So I think like that's very important that we turn to each other to support and that we are, we're on this together and that the English team supports the Spanish team supports the English team. That's really important.
Definitely. And you mentioned, Marta, we're on WhatsApp, we're growing there too, but we're also on TikTok. And I know you both have, hosted videos there, sharing the facts about different kinds of posts. Marta or Maria, can you share one of the posts you may have posted there on TikTok debunking a claim that either became viral on TikTok or elsewhere and also made it to that platform?
I'll just say something really quick, but I think that, TikTok is a great place as well. And it's not as specific as WhatsApp for Spanish speakers, but of course, Spanish speakers are also on TikTok. And so I do remember one that was on the Puerto Rican flag being banned in Florida, and it wasn't true, but it was a viral video. So, we just created a Spanish video debunking that, and we responded to the comment as a comment so that people could see. And I think like that's where the conversation we were talking about is, like just responding to that. And I feel like being quick as well when news things happen, and maybe you, Maria, can talk more about this because you've been doing it. But just like, for example, the TikTok videos we create the day after like a GOP debate, and it's like very newsy and like just right when things happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. The good thing about our TikTok in Spanish is that it really gives people a space to start a debate, to start conversation. For example, like we did a TikTok on the myths of fentanyl and, how like, does it smell like popcorn? Stuff like that that you hear out there, but some people don't really sit and think, is this true? And we definitely started seeing people in our comments and asking whether those things was true, and how did we know all of this stuff. So we're hoping that as we post more in there, people trust us more and see us as a source of information for them.
Right. And as we post on the TikTok PolitiFact in Español, we also ask, readers to tag us if they see a video that they think is sketchy, that they want to know more about. So we listen and we try to get the answers for them. And we also, as we're growing PolitiFact in Español, we do have partnerships with other organizations to distribute our content, one of them being Telemundo. Marta, can you tell us a little bit more about that? And, you've been doing some interviews with them. How does that work?
Yeah, so I think what I was thinking with the TikTok conversation we just had is that, I would love to believe that everyone goes to media outlets online, that researches, but that's not realistic. Most people, consume media through social media. And so it's really important for us to be in these places. And I think one of the things is that, a lot of people that consume Telemundo might not go to our website to read our fact checks. So I think doing that is a great way to expand what we do, to grow our audience, to make Telemundo audience familiar with what we do and familiar with fact checking, and then just bringing our expertise to Telemundo audience. I think it's a great collaboration, and we realize also what topics they care about, which I think is very important, because again, journalists, sometimes we think we want to think certain things, but common people are interested in common things, such as, I remember this video we did for Telemundo about the gas prices and how had they increased over time. And, it's a very, kitchen table topic that people do care about, and that, it will engage Telemundo audience. And then, also after the debates that are happening, people are for 2 hours listening to politicians, saying all sorts of things, and then having that day after expertise coming from our reporters, and mostly coming for our English speaking reporters, but then we just translate that and bring that to the Telemundo audience. And I think that's a great add and a great collaboration for us to have, and then for example, Fact Chequeado also spreads our content through more than 50 partners that they have. So I think that's also another way to bring our work outside of us.
Definitely. And Marta, along the lines too of deciding what to fact check, we often hear the term the Latino vote, but we realize that this is a voting bloc that cares about various issues and that cannot be easily put in a category for a party or the other. Can you tell us more about how PolitiFact in Español decides what to fact check and how it takes into consideration the varying interests?
Yeah, I think one specific thing about, Latinos and Hispanic communities in the US is that a lot of times people just think they're a monolith, and they think they all think the same way, they all care about the same things, and that's certainly not true. But also, they are not that different from other demographic groups. Everyone cares about things that affect their day-to-day life, that relates to their values. And surveys among Latinos have found that some of the top issues they care about are just kitchen table topics, such as, cost of living, jobs and wages, affordable healthcare access, public safety, and of course, immigration. So I think a lot of these topics will be similar with other demographic groups. So we're definitely fact-checking claims about all those issues. We don't think it's, it would be smart to focus on one topic, because that would ignore many other interests and topics that people care about. And we're also, as we've been saying, we're also really open to ideas from our audience. We, when we create a TikTok video, in the end, we always tell people, hey, if you see something, just tag us in the comments and we'll explore that. So I think like that's a real way to know what people care about. And yeah, same thing with WhatsApp. We encourage people to send us on WhatsApp things that they care about, and we've received all types of topics. We don't receive all the immigration claims or all the healthcare. We receive a lot of different things, which proves that people care just about, many things.
Right, and it can also vary, the issue can vary by age group, by region where they're located, or, if they're immigrants, how long they've been in the US compared to if there's someone who has, just arrived or has been here decades. So it can vary. And Maria, as we come close to wrapping up this conversation, hoping you can recommend, or what do you recommend that people keep in mind as they scroll through their social media feeds, or as, more 2024 campaign ads come in on the radio, on TV, or if they get a WhatsApp message with this very provocative talking point, what should they keep in mind so that they don't accidentally spread misinformation?
Yeah, so the number one rule is don't believe everything you see on social media or, that you get sent. And also, even if you really like a politician or if you really dislike them, don't necessarily believe what they said, first do some research. Especially what we see with social media is that it's easy to create a logo, it's easy to find images online that you can repurpose and make it look legit, make it look like a legit business instead of having a brick and mortar that will probably take a long time to do. So a lot of people, create these pages, create these businesses that look legit, and unfortunately that's not the case. So always be careful, search for that name, make sure that they appear real. And also, if somebody shares an article with you, make sure you check, does it have a name, does it have an author, does it have a byline, and does it have a date, and then if they don't, then think, why are they not sharing that information? Why they don't want to know, why they don't want you to know who they are when this was written. So make sure you always double check that. And also, we as Hispanics, we are used to getting sent a lot of information, from our families, from our WhatsApp groups, from our moms. And it's like, when you receive that, you definitely want to believe it because it's people you love, people you trust. But, you always got to make sure that you check everything they send you. And it's not like they want to send you misinformation. It's not that they're trying to trick you, and you don't have to be mean about it. But I think that you should definitely ask, hey, mom, dad, where are you getting this information from? How do you know this? Are you sure? And then before sending that to somebody else, stop, check. Did that really happen? If it doesn't sound quite right, then maybe check. And lastly, we always see those posts that are super like incendiary and they sound amazing. It's like, before getting your hopes up about this amazing debt relief that could save your life, just please double check. It will do you a favor to your mental health and to others.
Great. Anything else, Marta, Maria, that you would like to share?
I guess one thing I think with misinformation a lot, just to add to what Maria was saying, is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't true. And it's hard because sometimes, as I was saying, the green card, like so many people who are in the US want a green card, and we all hope it was easier, but I think it's very tricky because, as Maria was saying, they use this like emotion and like, if you're on debt, you have so much anxiety, you wanna, get debt relief. And so I think just, please, be careful with like, even if you want it to be true, it might not be. So be careful on what you share and what you tell people. And that's how misinformation spreads, really, with like, people not necessarily wanting to spread it, just people like thinking they're helping you, they're supporting you on your issue with the green card, but like, no.
Great. Well, those are great tips, and we'll end the conversation here. Thank you, Marta and Maria, for your time and insights, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. A reminder that United Facts of America's next session is today at 1 p.m. Eastern, with a discussion among PolitiFact staff writer Amy Sherman, Florida Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg, and John Sale, a former Watergate special prosecutor and former attorney for Rudy Giuliani. They will be discussing the multiple trials former President Donald Trump is facing and their implications in the 2024 election. And make sure you join us too Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern as we take you behind the scenes as we prep for the Republican presidential debate in Miami. Thank you for watching United Facts of America. This is Miriam Valverde. Take care.